I'm Rob Inglis, and this is my Ultra4 car.
Hello guys, today on Just Winging It, we are just going to wing together some headers. We are finally in the process of building our headers. We have no idea what we're doing because neither of us have ever done it, me or Dave, so we're just going to wing it, hence the channel name. So far we have just taken some scrap steel and we just tacked in our collector flanges, as you can see right here. One on each side. We just tried to make them so they're equal on each side, and we tried to make it so it's centered because we are going to make them equal length. So, but when I say equal length, each primary tube off of the engine will come up and will be the same length on each primary tube. The reason we do that is because it helps with scavenging and it sounds amazing when you do it that way. So it'll be equal length all the way up to each primary, and then we're gonna come up and we're gonna make an X pipe here, and then we're gonna somehow do some dump exhaust out here. We haven't figured that out yet because we're just winging it. So stay tuned and we'll show you how to fuck this whole process up. Like I said, we're just winging it. We're actually looking to try and figure out how to do a pie cut, or if we should just use a cut off that are on those bends. I don't know. Okay, I will give you a short explanation of how we are building our primary tubes. So we are coming out from this port here, and we're going to try and put it into this inlet up here. And the way we're going to figure out our angles is we're just going to use a piece of TIG rod because that's all we have and we're just winging it. So it's kind of how we got our idea how we're going to do it. And then our number 2, we're going to come up to the port above it. So once we get this tacked in, oh, and the reason we started with this tube is because it's the longest tube. So we want to start it with the longest tube, so as we go down to the shorter tubes, we have to somehow come up with a bend to make up for the extra length of this one because we're trying to keep them equal length. So yeah, there is kits that you can buy where you can get like little plastic connections and they go all nice and they're super pretty, but they're like $1,500 and we don't really have the budget for that. So I got this kit here off Amazon. I think it was the cheapest kit that Amazon had, and if we fuck it up, it doesn't hurt so bad. Okay guys, you can see we have one side done. It was a lot of work, a lot of just trial and error. Putting a little piece in, and then we used all these little pies, I'll show you. Little pie pieces, which we learned how to cut on YouTube. If you just look up pie cuts on YouTube, you can find tons of videos of how to cut these, and you just kind of puzzle them all together to make your bends. They work really good. So yeah, it just took a lot of just putting those little pieces together and then making little extensions to get where we wanted to be with the tubes. And we've got them all somehow by fluke, I think. All of them are perfectly equal in length. Well, within 1/4 inch, which is really good. According to you, or the old Google there, 1/4 inch is acceptable for your equal length headers. So everything's 22 inches, right close to that. I am really happy with how it turned out. We just tacked everything together with the MIG for now, but they're all gonna come off, and then we'll take everything together. And my TIG welding skills, I'm still learning how to do it, so not sure how that's gonna turn out, but if you stay tuned, you will see. So the reason I marked these tubes is because I got to cut these tacks off, just because my pie is not perfectly aligned. So when I tacked it in there, I must have just bumped something or whatever. It's kind of in an awkward spot to get. So anyways, I got to cut it off, and then I'm just put it back in straight and line up my marks, and then TIG weld away. Oh, hey guys, we are back. We got a little carried away. I've almost finished the other side, so I'm just gonna stop for a minute and show you guys what I did. We obviously tacked everything into place, and then I TIG welded everything, and the way I did it, we ended up making just a bracket to hold the collectors so they don't move on each side. And while that bracket is still there, I might as well just use it to pull all my primary tubes out and leave that there, TIG weld all my primary tubes all the way around one by one, and then put them all back in, tack them into place, and then I will remove this. So it keeps everything straight, and then I know everything's going back in the same way that we built it. And I didn't realize this when I ordered the tube, but this is aluminized mild steel. And if you go on Google and just type in, can you TIG weld aluminized tubing, everyone's gonna say you can't do it. It doesn't weld great, it can be done, and I'm still learning that TIG welding, so if I can do it, I think anyone can pretty much do it. So follow along, and I'll show you how I do this. Okay guys, we've done all the TIG welding, so for anyone that says you cannot TIG aluminized tubing, I think we can put that one to rest. It doesn't weld the greatest, but I am not the greatest TIG welder to begin with, so if I can do it, I think anyone can do it. So yes, you can TIG weld aluminized tubing. So now I'm just gonna tack them all back into place, and then we will move on to our collectors, and I'm gonna show you guys how I'm building a very, very budget collector, which should work very well. Stay tuned. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I got all my primaries TIG welded up. Now I'm just welding all my primaries to my flange, and I'm just MIG welding it because I got a little bit of gaps there because it wasn't perfect. I also had to kind of tack each side and then come in there with a hammer just to get everything to line up on the inside port. And yeah, it's just way easier with a MIG. And it's not as pretty as TIG, but it's a lot easier, especially with this aluminized tubing. I'm learning that it's very difficult to weld. Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. How to turn your shitty budget headers into some high flow performance. So what I'm doing here, I've got this shitty stamped out collector tube that came in my, I don't know, $200 header kit I got off Amazon. And anyways, it's a really shitty design the way they do it. So I'm gonna show you a trick how to turn this shitty piece into a high flowing piece. I'm also gonna show you guys how to build, they call these a collector star, or there's a few different names for them. And anyways, I just put that, so that'll be my header piece, or sorry, all my headers come in, and there'll be a cone on the inside. I'm gonna make these ones about 2.5 inches long. It just kind of works out with the size of this here. And I will just cut them. I just mark them out on a piece of old scrap tubing. I'll cut 4 of them, and then I'll have 4 little pieces that I just use this, stick them all on there, tack them all together, and then weld them up. Okay, so here is my 4 pieces I built. Like I said, I just cut them out of some scrap tubing I had. I just marked out a triangle 2.5 inches long, and then just cut it out on the bandsaw, and then use this piece as a template to make my other pieces. And then I vice grip them all together, put them on the bandsaw to make them even. But when you go to put them together, they're not gonna fit worth a shit. So I just tack them at the bottom and on each side, and then I kind of just tip them all back. And then I just use a pair of pliers, squish them together, and as you try and just get the gaps tighter, I'll just tack it with my MIG gun. And then I will TIG weld the rest of it, and then I cut it all off, and then I have a perfectly good collector star for very cheap. By any means, it's not perfect, but not bad for a guy who's just winging it. Okay guys, as you can see, this is my little star thingy, they call it. Star, there's 100 different names of them, but I can't think of it. But anyways, it's a star to try and get the air to all flow together and make it all do crazy sciencey fucking windy shit in there. Anyways, this is what I wanted to show you guys. This is just like the shittiest collector that money buys. Like, it is super cheap, but we are going to turn this cheap shitty collector into a very high flowing one. If you look at this one, this is what it'll look like at the end. See how it's all formed? There's no big ugly dirty old gap on the bottom there. Like you can see where my finger is right there. There's a dirty old gap in there. So if I was just to leave it, I'd have to do a big gross weld in there. But what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna form that is I just tack weld each corner so it can't move. And then I actually just take acetylene torch and I heat up where I want to bend it. And obviously I want to push it in to try and get rid of that gap. So I'll heat it up red hot, and then I will regulate air pressure like 30 psi into an air hammer, and I just ground the bit flat so it actually doesn't want to try and rip right through the pipe because it's pretty thin. And then it makes it perfectly form around and look like that. And then with our star in there and this sucked all around, we should have a pretty high flowing system here. And then I also wanted to show you, since we made all our primary tubes equal length, we get some good suction going on. See that? Some good succulation out of all the other pipes. So since they're all equal length, it actually, when one cylinder fires, when the pulse goes up, it comes into this collector, and when that pulse hits, it actually puts a suction on all 3 of these other primaries, causing it to scavenge. So scavenging means it's actually sucking the exhaust out of the engine. And that's why when you build these equal length headers, they just sound so awesome. They sound like, I don't know, exotic, I guess you could say. They don't sound like a typical V8. They just sound so awesome. They sound like, I don't know, exotic, I guess you could say. They don't sound like a typical V8. They just, sounds like you're revving to like 10,000 RPM when you're really only at, 6,000. Sounds super cool. That's what we did at our old exhaust system, and I absolutely loved it. So that's the sound I am going for. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that. And then the collector is one of the main designs that actually help you do that, make that scavenge. So I'll show you on this one, it actually won't do that because we don't have the collector welded on. See? Oh, shit. I was just grinding in there, so all the shavings are fucking firing at me here. So yeah, so once I stick that collector on there, we'll mold it all in there, weld it all up, and then it will do exactly what this one's doing. So the more equal length, the better equal length you can get it, the better off it's going to be, obviously. So when I made these, we're within probably 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll show you how I mold that all around, and then we will do a closing on how I built these headers, what it cost, what material I used, what I would do differently. Okay guys, we are ready to wrap up this header project. I just wanted to take a little time and tell you guys what I did like about the job, what I didn't like about the job, since it was my first time doing it, what I would do differently. I definitely would have not cheaped out as bad if I knew how hard trying to TIG weld aluminized tubing is. It does not TIG weld worth a shit. I should have just got off my wallet and paid a little bit extra money and at least got mild steel. If I was to go back, I would have done it all out of stainless. But for my first time, why I bought these pipes is because I just wanted to do it as cheap as I could, because I wasn't even sure if I had enough skill to do it. But turns out it wasn't as hard as I actually thought it was going to be, even though I got like 200 man hours into these. But I just really wish I would have not went with aluminized tubing. The reason I did is just because it's super cheap. I think this kit is like $180 off Summit Racing. So I'm only into these headers for, well, 180 bucks. I robbed these flanges off my old headers, just cut them off, and I reused them. So that's $100 US, or 180 bucks US. So that's like, I don't know, $4 million Canadian. So $4 million headers, not bad. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I can't wait to fire it up and hear it with all the equal length tubing. It should sound really good. So if you guys want to hear that, stay tuned.